Hi, welcome back to Geocaching World with Andy Head Hardhead Smith, and I'm Dave Dufour here at RVNN.TV. We are talking about Muggles.
Ooh.
Can we do that? Muggles, Muggles, Muggle. I don't know. Is it something that's just sort of a mystery word?
Just
Isn't it?
makes it sound more ominous.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. I mean, we need a little echo on that word. I think maybe something a little bit processed there. But you know, Muggles. We kind of went through the different varieties, and most Muggles aren't, unless you're talking about the whistleblower. Most of them aren't there to make too much trouble for you, but they're kind of like you really don't want them to know what you're doing because why?
I think the main thing is geocaching is definitely still very much a secretive game, even though there's 5, 6 million geocaches out there around the world.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, though, that part of the elements of the game is the stealthiness. It's fun to try to figure out different ways of finding a geocache so that nobody else can catch you while you're doing it.
Right. Yeah. No, we haven't talked much about hiding things, but it's got to be like even harder to hide something and not look like you're doing it than it is to try to find something and not look like you're doing it. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. You get that whole process because you eventually have to go through different ways of finding the geocache itself.
Yes.
Once you find it, then you've got to actually open it up, sign the log, close it back up, and then hide it again, doing all this stuff without making it look like that's what you're doing.
Right. Okay. So that's okay. Well, that's part of the skill set that you get. Now, I'm trying to think is geocaching? Is there a skill set here that can be applied to the quote unquote real world or yeah?
I would say yeah, because a lot of this, if you really think about it, there's a lot of logical thinking involved with
Okay.
this. You
Yeah.
have to be able to size up multiple types of situations in multiple types of environments
Right.
and still be able to accomplish the goal of getting that geocache.
Well, it's a lot of visual thinking and a lot of puzzle problem solving kinds of things. Whether you're
And
high,
people really come up with some creative ways of doing that.
that's really cool. That's great. Okay, well, what are some ways? Like, I'm okay. I'm out. I'm gonna be geocaching, and I've got this, and I want to
Yep.
walk around like this, right? And look for my.
That's exactly right.
Okay, there we go.
One of the things that you have to really watch is one of the ways that you give yourself away as a geocacher is when you, how do you put it? You're looking for other people to look to see if you're looking suspicious.
Yeah. Okay.
So by you making yourself think that you're looking suspicious, you're going to act that way.
Right.
Walking around with hunched shoulders while you're looking at your GPS
Mm-hmm.
or trying to hide the GPS in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know that's a GPS. All they know is you got a gizmo in your hand and you're kind of looking like Simon Legree trying to do something with it.
Yeah.
What does it do? What could happen?
Okay, so it's the kind of but now into today, of course, these more and more look like a cell phone or some other kind of electronic device. So are they less conspicuous than they used to be, even if you are actively messing with it?
Yeah, and actually, that's one of the tricks and tips that I use in one of my GeoSnippets videos about this entire subject. What's really cool is that if you're in a situation that you're about to get to the geocache and a bunch of people walk by, all you have to do is take that GPS and put it up by your ear and act like you're talking on a phone.
Yeah.
Most people, because they're not really looking for you doing anything wrong anyways, they're just going to think you're talking on the phone and ignore you.
Right.
And that's just a way of kind of doing a little sleight of hand and making yourself fit in.
Right. Okay. So what are some other things that we can do to kind of make ourselves less conspicuous to the the casual or the active observer?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times, a little bit of tips and tricks are just the subtle things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a geocache that you know is on the ground, for example, drop your car keys.
Oh.
Make it look like you're trying to pick them up, or try that you're tying your shoe. That old gag.
Yeah.
That actually works in that kind of situation.
Okay.
Like the example that I talked about in the earlier segment. If you're going to hunt for a geocache and you know it's in a relatively safe place, sit down next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till the time arrives where you can actually go through and get the geocache that way.
Right. Okay. What about the whole idea of sometimes if you just stand right out there with your geocache and do this and look around and kind of be looking around the area and it kind of looks like you're supposed to be there. and it's
Yeah, and
it's
that's
sort of the
that's
opposite.
actually a really, really good point. That's called geocaching with confidence. And in many situations, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
If you're going geocaching, and a lot of geocachers do this, they will just look at the geocache. GPS devices on your phone and GPS devices in general are commonly known.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it, look at the geocache, find it, and sign a log and put it away. Most of the time, people won't even give you a second thought.
Right. Okay. So, but now, if you get someone who's an observer and curious, aren't you? If you go right up to the geocache and open it and do your business without having, without trying to hide it, do you end up, putting the geocache itself at risk? Because now someone who's, maybe not in on it knows where it is and may start messing with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a judgment call for something like that. And if it's one of those things where you're actually seeing somebody observing you, watching you, what you're doing, a lot of times a best way to do is just walk away. Simply walk away from the geocache and come back in 20 minutes.
That's right.
If it's somebody that, it's just people doing normal stuff around and you know that you can just get in, take care of the geocache itself and get out with them really not noticing what you're doing. Good way to do it. Okay.
Well, you had a couple of other techniques that I think you have some props for there to talk about how to disguise or cover up the fact that you're geocaching.
Absolutely. Depending on the situation you have, the things that I'm going to show you here tend to be better in the urban kind of environment. So if you're in the city or where there's a lot of muggles around, this is a bit on the extreme side, but they work, and they've been proven to work. One of the simple things that you want to do is carry one of these. I don't know if you can see how well this is. This is a clipboard.
Yeah.
Just taking a clipboard with you, and now granted, if you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt or a tie-dye shirt, it may not be quite as authentic as if you were wearing regular street clothes. But if you're acting like you're an inspector, if you've got a lamppost hide or one of the ones around that you're looking like you're actually inspecting the area for whatever reason, it could be just a landscaping, that type of thing. Look at the flowers and act like you're writing it down. A clipboard's a great way to kind of make you blend in. It's also a good place that you can put your GPS on and kind of hide that a little bit too.
Okay, great. All right, and people tend to think you're some sort of an official at that point as well. I noticed in one of your videos you also actually wear like a construction vest or something.
That has actually worked a lot for a lot of people. If you also want to have that little bit of extra insurance, you can buy at any one of your department stores one of these reflective type vests. And just wear that. That just gives you that disguise a little bit more authority. Okay, great. All right. Well, so it sounds like, that this is the kind of thing where there's a certain amount of judgment as to, how obvious and how innocuous you want to try to be, and it's hard, kind of entirely situational, isn't it? Absolutely, it's gonna change no matter where you're at and when even. Obviously, there's times where people are much more protective of their areas. Right. For example, nighttime geocaching. You have to be very careful because people at night are suspicious of other people walking around. Yeah. It's really a judgment call and something that you learn with experience. Okay, great. Well, when we come back after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about looking innocuous, and Head Hard Hat is going to give me some advice on finding my first geocache. So stay with us on Geocaching World. Got a question or a comment about geocaching? Send it to geocache@rvnn.tv or leave us a voicemail at 877-578-RVNN, extension 714. Tell us about a cache you especially enjoyed finding, and we may feature it in an upcoming episode. Follow RV Newsnet on Facebook and Twitter, and you can receive text messages to alert you when we're streaming live by texting RVNN to 72727. That way, you can join us live in the chat room, ask questions, and become part of the RV Newsnet family. Remember, any photos or other material submitted to us become the property of RV Newsnet and cannot be returned. For more TV like this from the world of RVs, head to rvnn.tv.